Hey, what's going on, everyone? Today I want to talk about Lords of the Fallen 2 simply because I can't contain my excitement for this game. The more we learn about this sequel, the more it feels like Hexworks is addressing nearly every major criticism players had with the 2023 release. Now, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed the first Lords of the Fallen. It had one of the coolest mechanics in the entire Souls-like genre with the dual world system. It had incredible visual design and some genuinely fun build variety. But it also launched with plenty of issues. Combat could feel a little sluggish, co op wasn't as seamless as many players hoped, enemy density was sometimes overwhelming, and performance problems hurt what was otherwise a very ambitious game. The good news is that Lords of the Fallen 2 appears to be taking those lessons and building directly upon them. One of the biggest changes is combat. The developers have said the sequel is being designed around faster, more responsive, and more satisfying combat overall. We've already seen footage showing quicker animations, more aggressive encounters, brutal executions, and even a dismemberment system. The overall pace simply looks faster than the first game, and I'm all there for it. Instead of the heavier and sometimes floaty feeling combat from the original, this looks like a more refined experience that should feel better moment to moment. Another major improvement is the enemy and boss design. According to the developers, Lords of the Fallen 2 will feature a significantly larger enemy roster with biome-specific factions. That's exciting because one criticism of the first game was seeing certain enemy types repeated throughout the adventure. The sequel appears to be offering much more variety depending on where you're exploring. They've also promised more dynamic boss encounters, which is something I'm really looking forward to, and the world itself also sounds far more ambitious overall. For example, one of the newly revealed regions, Yisagen, takes inspiration from Asian mythology and features giant pagodas, corrupted demons, and even a lightning-infused dragon boss. Hell yeah. That's already a huge departure from the more traditional dark fantasy locations we saw in the first game. It suggests the sequel is going to be much more varied in its environments. And of course, we can't talk about Lords of the Fallen without mentioning Umbral. The dual realm mechanic was the standout feature of the first game, and the developers have repeatedly stated that they're expanding and evolving it. They've described the new version as a more immersive and dangerous Umbral realm, which should hopefully mean more unique interactions, exploration opportunities, and gameplay mechanics tied to shifting between worlds. The biggest issue with the first game is the fact that when you transfer to Umbral, you never felt like you were getting rewarded for doing so. However, the developers have said that going into Umbral in Lords of the Fallen 2 will have real benefits. But the feature I'm personally most excited about might actually be co-op. If you played the original at launch, you'll remember that co-op was not perfect. Since release, however, the developers have spent years improving it through dozens of updates, eventually adding shared progression, better matchmaking, and far more player freedom. Now, Lords of the Fallen 2 is launching with full shared progression co-op from day one. That is amazing. That means you and a friend can play through the entire campaign together without constantly worrying about whose progress is being saved. It's one of the most requested features from the community, and it's great to see it included from the start. Another reason why I'm so confident in the sequel of Lords of the Fallen is because the developers handled the first game tremendously well. Over the course of more than 70 updates, they continuously refined combat, improved movement, added quality of life features, expanded co-op functionality, and responded directly to player feedback. Whether you loved the first game or not, it's hard to deny that the team was committed to improving it. Lords of the Fallen 2 is essentially being built on everything they learned during that process. Visually, the sequel also looks like a major step forward. The original was already one of the best looking Souls-like available, but the new footage shows even more detailed environments, improved lighting, larger scale encounters, and some absolutely grotesque enemy designs. The game still has that dark fantasy aesthetic that made the reboot stand out, but everything appears bigger, bloodier, and more polished. At the end of the day, what excites me most about Lords of the Fallen 2 is that it doesn't feel like a sequel that's simply adding more content. It feels like a sequel that's taking direct aim at the weaknesses of its predecessor. faster combat, more enemy variety, better bosses, expanded Umbral mechanics, shared progression co-op at launch, and a world that looks larger and more diverse than ever before. If Hexworks can deliver on those promises, Lords of the Fallen 2 could easily become one of the strongest Souls-likes of 2026, and if not, one of the greatest Souls-likes of all time. But what do you think? Are you excited for Lords of the Fallen 2? Or are you still waiting to see more gameplay before getting on board? Or perhaps you're waiting for the reviews to see if it scores well. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe. Thank you very much. Peace.